we'll move on to the Dragons, who finished 16th this year. And in a lot of games, I thought they lost their coach halfway through with Hook getting the arse. But from the squad they had on paper and where we saw them lined up, I thought they overperformed in a lot of games. I thought even when Hook was there, he was getting probably the best he could have out of the squad. I believe there was 9 games they lost by 6 points or less. So,
that's a big one. That turns around a season, especially like you look at Canberra, how many games, but they would have won 12 games by 6 points or less, maybe more.
Yeah.
And that ended up getting them up into the top 8 and had them sitting in the top 4 for a big part of the season. So, that's a massive swing around. Won 5 out of their 24 games, lost 19, minus 199 for and against. Again, they averaged, averaged 20 points for, 27 against. Again, they were one of those teams that, with the sort of the 1%er stuff, they were middle of the road for handling errors and, the detrimental things in and around ineffective tackles and that kind of stuff. But just another one that just could not score points. Errors finished 10th on average, middle of the road. Ineffective tackles 10th. Penalties conceded 8th. Like they're good signs for a team, but their biggest problem for mine was their forward pack. They were completely dominated at times, and it was just lone efforts from Jack DeBellin or Blake Laurie that really seemed to get them controlling, putting them into a position where they could be a threat at the back end of games. Some of their centres were deplorable. I don't know how many times I saw the ball get out to the likes of Sully and Lomax and just things just completely stopped. Like they just
games where Sully
completely fucked up.
Couldn't catch a ball in front of his face, let alone anything else. They didn't have the biggest forward pack. The other concern at the start of the year is that Hook had no faith in any youngsters, and it's pretty he kept going back to Hunt, kept going back to Mbai. And the first thing Ryan Carr did was when he got in charge was ship Mbai out of the country. But that was a detriment to a lot of them, holding on to Kerr for too long. Blokes like that. It was this year they got rid of Kerr, wasn't it? Yeah. Yep. And that stagnated the start of the year. And then the other note, as you just said, the rocks and diamonds from the outside back. Sloan at his best, he could be a Reece Walsh level player. Or has a skill, I shouldn't say it, but it has a skill set similar. Pace off a mark, can break, can place direct, or
passing
swing out the back.
Probably not up there, but
true, and probably kicking game actually, but similar vein of skill set. But we don't see it enough, or he's just completely missing, or wandering around as bombs.
Kick return meters, they were last in the entire comp with 140 kick return meters.
Yeah.
Like you look at someone like Dylan Edwards, he's making that in the first half an hour of the game, returning kicks that kick down to your fullback. So does that speak of laziness? No enthusiasm for being in the position. Run meters, second last for run meters. Yeah. That just tells you that they were dominated in the middle of the field because a lot of your run meters obviously come with that continual 10 or 15 minutes through 10 or 15 metre runs from your forwards through the middle of the field, and you just add them up over time, obviously. Line breaks, which goes hand in hand with being, not being able to score enough tries. They did make, they were 11th for tackle bust, so to breaking 33 tackles a game. And that's good enough to get you into position to be able to do something. But again, they didn't have the players in that spine that were able to catch it.
And that was Sloan, Sully, Ravalawa led that all in the 70s with them,
Yeah, 100%. Post-contact meters, another one. They ran third last in post-contact meters, so it just tells you that their forward pack was getting constantly dominated most weeks, week in, week out.
Yeah. But coming away from stats in general, what was it? They didn't really have a direct style of play. It was sort of a Ben Hunt. It was either the Ben Hunt show at their best, and they won. They did beat Titans, Knights, and Bunnies.
But even a lot of that was short kicking and short passing. It wasn't combining.
There was 2 games. There was 2 games they should have won in the last minute, and they went to crash play instead of actually anything else.
Yeah, it wasn't combining with other people. It was short passes off a shoulder or a grubber in behind for someone to dive on where the opposition fullback or centre or winger's out of position. So that doesn't lead to, a fluent attacking position from the Dragons, and that was basically their problem for the entirety of the year. There was nobody apart from Brent Hunt that was really offering any sort of threat towards the defensive line.
Yeah.
So, and he really packed it in towards the back end of the year.
Yeah, he didn't want to be there for the last 6 or 7 weeks. What did the Unites have next?
Not a great deal there. There's some of the individual efforts. Lomax was actually 12th for points with 142 points, 57 goals. Ravalawa was probably their standout for mine. 21 tries in, I think he only played 20 matches.
Well, he was my shining light, I guess, for lack of, good news story of the year, but something positive, the resurgence of him.
Yeah, seventh in line breaks, 7th in tries. Post-contact meters was Sully out on the edge, but a lot of that came obviously as well through the dummy half stuff that he did, which was something. But they really did not. There was no attack that was providing anything decent for the Dragons.
Look, in terms of, I guess, the good news stories, as I said, the resurgence of Ravalawa. He was someone burst on the scene.
Little did a pretty good job at dummy half,
and for him to come back and do what he's done and score 20+ tries in this team, and a lot of that was his own bat. The hat trick and the four timer he got was
him the ball.
Was all his own stuff, and it's been a gift that wingers. I agree. Little was pretty good. He didn't get. It was a weird stop and start year for him. He had
Made
a couple
lot
of
of
really good games.
Had some good running meters.
Good for a try. And DeBell and Laurie obviously worked their asses off here.
Oh, they were two of their better players for long parts of the year. DeBell won on a stretch of about 8 or 10 games where he was one of the better forwards in the comp, just leading the Dragons back, and then I think he copped an injury or a suspension for a couple of weeks, and then Laurie seemed to take over towards the back end of the year.
There's a suspension in there for either a head slam or something
hip drop.
It might have been hip drop. Well, he was all but in New South Wales. If it wasn't for the bad PR, he would have been in New South Wales team. Yeah. Now, what does... And I actually, the other positive was I liked the injection that Ryan Carr put in it with your Couchmans and...
Absolutely.
And Dan Russell at the back end of the year. There's something there. There's something to work with there. What does Shane Flanagan as a coach bring to a squad like this? You've obviously supported a team that won a comp under him.
Discipline and fitness were the two things that seemed to be the highest order when he was in control of the Sharks. Cronulla were close to the fittest team in the comp when he was in charge of Cronulla for the 3-4 years that he was there. A definite game plan. Like there was I know we had Maloney there at the time as well, which did have a big part of setting up what they were doing and adding a little bit of flair on the outside of it. But there was always a direct plan of exactly what was It was the 1-2 punch in the middle, and then it was explore both edges, and then the kick. If there's not something that you can see, you kick to the edges, and then you just work and work and work. Biggest thing for mine was work ethic, and fitness that Flanagan brought to the Cronulla side.
What do they need for next year apart from a coach? They got Flanagan and I think James LA coming in, which I guess adds some size to the middle. I don't know what Flanning's either going there as a hooker or a 5'8", maybe. I don't know.
Probably a 14, I would imagine.
Or a 14. Do they need? I suppose Sullivan's going. Little should be given a proper crack at 9, so I can't imagine he's going to be hooker. I imagine Flanagan end up in the halves or at least shadowing a half. What changes for him next year?
They need some size and some pace in the middle of that forward pack. They really need to be able to get some quicker play of the balls, because a lot of the time they're very stagnant in the middle of the field. Whereas, you can make a 8 or 10 metre run through the middle of the field, but if you're getting slow play of the balls, the next bloke's only making 4 or 5 metres. So, some fitness and pace in some of the forwards. That definitely need some size. Like they were a small pack. They were the smallest pack in the comp.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And that bore out the way they were dominated through the middle of the field for a long part of it. And Ben Hunt needs a foil. If it's not Ben Hunt, then they're going to need obviously two halves. But whether that's Sloan becoming more involved in the play with the wraparound plays on the outside edges and bringing in the likes of Lomax and Sully to be able, because on their day they're fantastic ball in hand, no matter what deficiencies they've got in defence. But they can stand blokes up one-on-one or just bury straight over the top of them if given enough opportunity. But I don't know. I can't see the Dragons really finding a way out of the bottom four for the next couple of years, to be honest.
No.
Without, I think they need basically half the side overhauled.
I'm just looking. Actually, Telegraph have put up today all the off-contract players and just whipping through quickly. If anyone jumps out, Grant Anderson maybe something like that. I mean, you're only talking about bench players for bench players, but there is a clean out going on at the Seagulls. Bailey Sirenen. Yeah, there's not a lot around, is there? But
they need the likes of a Kamakamika, Stefano type size and pace through the middle of the field with a bit of an offload. Little's probably okay to work off the back of that, but they also they need another half. They need.
There's a long road ahead.
There's a lot that the Dragons need.
And you're going to finish on with this season? Unfortunately, they were 15th, probably rightfully so, and they're probably going to be 15th again next year. 16th again.
16th, yeah. I wouldn't surprise if they slipped to 17th, to be honest. I think the roster needs a big overhaul. Whether they've got juniors coming through, you never know.
They do have the second or third biggest.
They've got the two Couchmans coming through who did look good. Dan Russell, which adds a bit of, a little bit of. There is a bit of pace there. Those three guys did seem to have a bit of pace and a bit of strength coming in through the pack. Add that with Laurie and Jack DeBellin, they might be competitive in the middle of the field, but what happens outside? The link men are the crucial parts for these guys.
Yeah.
6, 7, and 1 is a crucial aspect for the Dragons going forward.
Try not to be all doom and gloom, but that seems pretty gloomy to me, to be honest.